Good evening, Garden City. I'd like to call to order a regular city council meeting for July 27th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Our first order of business is our opening ceremony, which consists of the national anthem, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for those service members who have given their lives for our country, and also a moment of silence for a longtime Parks and Rec Commissioner, Mr. Dennis Kapelinski. If everyone would please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
States of America
and
to the republic for which
it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
you. Mr. Smith, if you take roll call, please.
Mayor Jacobs.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
Here.
Councilmember Hughes.
Here.
Councilmember Witt.
Here.
Councilmember King.
Here.
Councilmember Dole.
Here.
Councilmember Karafotis.
Here.
You have a quorum of 7.
Thank you. Item 4 is the approval of the agenda.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Monday, July 27th council meeting agenda amended as presented.
Support from Mayor Pro Tem Dole. Discussion from the table? From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, we do not have any recognitions, nobody from the state or county, no presentations, no community events, no petitions, no public hearings. Item 11 is the consent agenda.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A1 through 4, including 4A as presented.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Hughes. Discussion from the table. From the public. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, on to our action items. First item is a lot rezoning, and Mr. Ortega, our planning consultant from McKenna.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Before you tonight is a request by the property owner of 27500 Marquette to rezone the site to C1 local business. Now, this site is a 2.05 acre lot and was previously occupied by a church and school. The site is now vacant, but the structure and the parking lots remain. It is currently zoned R1, one-family residential. The Planning Commission, at their July 9th meeting, held a public hearing and considered the issues. And actually, during the course of deliberation, the Planning Commission had voiced concern regarding the traffic that could be created and developed into the neighborhood and the other uses due to the other uses permitted in a C1 zoning district, such as retail. The applicant had indicated that they would like to redevelop the building for an office space and then potentially use the existing classrooms for a child care center. However, as a straight rezoning, the Planning Commission had to consider all the types of uses that would be available to a C1 designation. The applicant then actually chose to voluntarily do a conditional rezoning, this would limit the uses allowed on the site to only establishing a professional office and the daycare center, child care center. So after considering all the issues and the revised request for a conditional rezoning, the Planning Commission has recommended that City Council approve the proposed conditional rezoning of the site. One aspect of conditional rezoning is there is an agreement that has to be signed, and actually the applicant has already presented a signed conditional zoning agreement which legally binds the property owner to only develop the site as an office or a child care center under the C1 zoning. So in the end, the Planning Commission does recommend that council approve this rezoning of 27500 Marquette from R1 to conditional C1 local business, given that it's in compliance with the master plan, it's compliance with the future land use map of the city. This designation is consistent with the zoning classification of adjacent land, and the site is in compliance with the dimensional requirements in the C1 district.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem Dolan.
I'd like to motion to approve the rezoning of 27500 Marquette from R1 to one family residence to conditional C1 local business.
Support.
Or from Councilmember King. Discussion from the table.
Mayor?
Councilmember Hughes.
Good evening, Mr. Ortega. I see that when we're talking about rezoning to C1, that as it reads, that there has to be, the purpose is to allow limited shopping and services that for the needs of the residents in the immediate area. And then also they suggest different types of businesses, office are included in that. But with, right now, the city of Garden City has anywhere between 7 and 10 daycare centers with a couple that are on their way. The city of Wayne only has 6. So I'm curious as to why you feel the need, or the need is, somebody feels a need that's going to be a benefit to the neighboring residents, that having an immediate need for either an architect office or a daycare center.
So it's the applicant's request to do this. We're just recommending approval consistent with the master plan and that sort of thing. But to answer your question with regards to that, one thing, this is a condition rezoning to C1 that allows him so professional office would be permitted by right under this. And then actually the daycare center would be a child care center, so it's for more than 12 children. And they would still have to comply with the fact that this is a special land use. So they will have to come back again to Planning Commission and Council to request a special land use criteria, because at that time, it would be evaluated more based on hours of operation, based on the number of children, whether it's compatible in the area. And one of the criteria of the special land use would be a consideration of the need for the use. So that's done at that time. And that's not to say you can't speak to it now. But I would say that in terms of, forgive me, I don't know everyone off the top of my head, but I do know obviously we have a child care center on Inkster just north of Ford, that size and scale.
And there's one on Cherry Hill as well.
Yes, exactly. There's one on Cherry Hill.
They're both of them within blocks
Yeah.
of the address we're looking at right now. And then also, there are no known mistakes as far as the zoning was set originally. It says in the...
Correct, yeah, as far as we know.
No mistake in zoning it as residential, number one, and so there's therefore no reason to suspect that we need to change it because there was a mistake.
Correct, yeah, that's just one of the criteria. Like some efforts of rezoning are typically to correct a mapping error, and actually, we did that not too long ago when we had our O1 district. In addition to getting rid of the O1, we made some changes and corrections to the zoning map. For example, the property at the northwest corner of Cherry Hill and Inkster was only partially zoned commercial, so that drive-through use at the time was legally non-conforming, and we changed that kind of. So that's usually what we're looking for there in terms of that. But the fact that this is in the master plan, it was designated as mixed use and commercial is consistent with the C1 designation too.
As is residential.
To a degree.
We already have C1 nearby, well, adjoining. So both of those would, fulfill the multi-use.
Well, the vision of the mixed-use district, and granted, this is from the master plan from 2015, the idea would be to allow for a higher concentration of residential with commercial in proximity to allow for that mix of uses either adjacent to or on the site. So a single-family component could definitely be part of that.
Right.
But I think the idea is, this block that's planned as mixed use is kind of larger and has a lot of more development opportunities to create something unique for the city.
It's already,
Yeah, but, yeah.
already fulfills that mixed use criteria. And then we also have, there's two residents that, two homes that butt up to this property.
I believe one of them is a parsonage for the previous church. I could be wrong, but I thought that's what the case was.
Mayor,
Thank you. Councilmember Karafotis.
just looking over the wording and the wording that you used, you said it was in compliance with the master plan outline, but our master plan actually says we should be promoting more housing in Garden City. So I'm having a hard time with, we need to promote housing and we're going to get rid of more residential property. That makes no sense to me. Our master plan actually says we should promote micro-housing with standards for smaller housing so we can get smaller lots, single-family homes with a higher density. I've been saying for a couple of years, and even our city manager has said it would be nice to increase our population in Garden City. And I think if we're taking away residential property where we can build single-family homes or townhomes for seniors, I don't think that makes much sense to take it away. I know that that's about 2 acres. With our recent other ordinances that we changed with variances, that could fit 6 to 8 houses. So I'm concerned that we're passing up on space that we could use for houses. Also, you talked about traffic. There's already 2 schools there and another daycare. That would be a lot of traffic, if you ask me, right there at Marquette for those other houses. There's Tipton right behind there, and Lathers is right down the street. And if you've ever tried to get down there at 8:30 in the morning, it's not happening. So I think that would add to it. Our master plan also says that our population is decreasing, and over the next 14 years or so, our master plan anticipates it's going to decrease another 7%. So that's a lot. That's a lot of money for us to lose for federal money, for grants. I just think that we should think twice about giving away our residential property. We're pretty much landlocked. And I think that with the other new houses that are going up around Garden City and these vacant lots, we're getting a fair number of tax dollars from them. And if that lot was sold for houses, we would make more than if it was left as a daycare. I know that most houses in Garden City, even if they're older and they're not new, they're selling for over $200,000. New houses are selling around $3,000. That's over $10,000 a house in taxes. So for me, I'm just worried about giving up our residential property when that's what we need the most, in my opinion.
One aspect that we did consider in our analysis was the fact that, looking back, the site has historically been a religious institution, and I don't think it's ever been a single-family home. So transitioning it from a non-taxing use to a taxable office, that's one of the factors that kind of lent itself to R1, to C1. And then, as we talked about, the Planning Commission was very concerned about the traffic, and they did note the others, but they also factored in the fact that there's a boulevarded, Marquette is a boulevarded cross-section right there, and then it's not as far from Inkster as those other traffic-generating uses. And so they were hopeful that when they do the special land use review, they can get a better feel for, traffic movements. But it is something to consider just in the future, if it were to be rezoned, that they have another opportunity to evaluate it. But it is a consideration, and that's why they went from a straight C1 to a conditional. But yeah, those are all factors to consider when you're looking at this question.
Yeah, I mean, going from a church where we're not getting taxes to a business, you're getting taxes. With houses, you're getting more taxes. So, and more people. So I think that's what Garden City needs the most. Mayor?
That it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. Councilmember Dole.
I just lost my train of thought. I have several concerns, though. One of them is, we're not talking just one block into the subdivision. We're talking 3 blocks deep into Marquette, with the resident right on that side, with residents to the south of them, the west of them. It's my understanding, I know when we do these rezoning things or we do special land use, that kind of thing, that people are notified within 300 feet of that property. And actually, my personal belief on that is there are some things that I think all of our residents should be notified of because it affects the city that we're living in. But in this case, the 300 feet, I'm sorry, I've just lost my whole train of thought on this. I need to review my notes.
Okay, we can come back.
Well, it would include, yeah, but,
And one aspect about this site that was unique is that the property to the north and east and west are larger, so you didn't capture as many property owners. But then the properties to the south are a more single-family. There are single-family houses, so they were only about like maybe 50-foot wide lots, so you did capture more of those. And then during the public hearing, we only had one property owner attend. No other property owners were noticed.
Do you know how many were contacted?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but definitely everyone within 300 feet was
Is it 300 feet from property line to property line or 300 feet from the building?
300 feet from property line to property line. And even if it skims somebody's lot by like 2 feet,
Sure.
they're included. Because we do want to make sure that we have as much discussion and letting people know.
going back to what I was,
Yeah.
just came to me. So everybody was notified within 300 feet, but there are a lot of resident comments on this particular issue, and it may not be people that live right there, but there are a lot of comments on this issue, and I would say 99% of them are negative to changing it to C1, or
And
whether it's conditional or not. And the other problem I have with the conditional rezoning, and I mean this in the nicest way, but sometimes we agree to change things, and then a few years down the road, guess what happens? Things change, and the city is not staying on top of that. There's businesses right now on Ford Road that have went in under what they were supposed to be, and they no longer are. And here it sits. So that's a worry for me, too. What is the future use of this property going to be? Not only that, but I think that sometimes we need to take we need to take things into account. There is a house located right next door. I personally would not like to live right next door to a daycare where the children are outside playing all the time. And I believe this has come up before in Garden City, where there's been homes inside of neighborhoods that have tried to get daycare from us, and we have turned that down. So it's kind of the same thing. I think there is going to be an issue with the traffic. There's no way there's not going to be an issue with the traffic. And to say in the paperwork that people will walk their child to the daycare because it's located where it is, to me, that's just kind of silly, because you don't walk your child to daycare and then walk home and go to work. It's a work thing. Yeah. So, and I just don't see this as a benefit to the city.
Well, and just so that, you know, one of the reasons we pointed out the walking aspect is just the fact that the state does require, you know, back in the day, and actually even at schools, cars would come in and then they'd open the doors and the kid would just run out. State law prohibits that at daycare centers. So every daycare center, child care center, the parent or guardian has to park their car and walk them into. So that's probably more what the letter was referring to in that situation. And then, but yeah, then in terms of the other aspects, like I said, it's with regard of whether it's compatible with the neighborhood, and given the fact that it was a school and children attended there previously, you know, that's the only reason we were thinking that it might be of a similar character that was established, that's all.
Mayor,
Councilmember Karafotis.
one more thing about the traffic. I know when we talked about having the building right across the street, a daycare, that traffic was one of the major concerns for the board and at council, and we talked about how much the times that they get dropped off and all that, and it was a concern just for that one, and that's Middle Belt that has 60,000 cars a day. So I can imagine the concern on Marquette when there's already 2 schools there.
And we have another one opening on Ford Road.
Yeah, right, the other daycare on Ford Road, plus there's the one at Maplewood, plus there's the one at Radcliffe, plus there's the one on Cherry Hill. There's a lot of daycares. Not to say we don't want more business in Garden City, but just not in a residential neighborhood.
And just one other aspect to just make you aware of, I have all the facts, is that in terms of monitoring this use and make sure the site doesn't come into any other type of use, as a condition of rezoning, the legally binding agreement states that if they were to ever use this for anything else other than an office or a daycare, it has to automatically revert back to C1.
I read that.
So there's at least there's that, and then one other aspect is the building department now utilizes what we call a use statement. So any business operator, whenever they come in, first they submit their application for a certificate of occupancy, and then they sign another document afterwards that verifies all their details, and it identifies them, all the conditions that they have to comply with. And then if they violate them, then the city can take any and all actions to mitigate the situation or require them to vacate the property. And so, you know, those are all ordinances that are already in the books, and everybody had to do that anyway. But it's just something that we provide as another, try and use another.
Well, yeah, I'm aware that we have that as a backup.
Mayor?
Councilmember King.
Just to clarify, you said if it was used for anything other than what was approved, it would revert back to C1. Did you mean R1?
Correct, I'm sorry. That's
Okay, just wanted to clarify. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about special land use. So if today this is approved, they could start using it for a business, but they would still have to come back in front of council for the daycare because it would be a special land use?
That's correct.
Okay. I guess I have a different thought than on this. If it was vacant property, I'm fully support keeping it as residential. But with an existing building already sitting on that lot, and I drove by, it doesn't look the greatest at all. A lot of overgrown brush, parking lots destroyed. And we don't have a developer in front of us today asking, do you want a business there? I mean, do you want professional offices there, or do you want residential? They're only offering one. If it's denied today, it would probably remain vacant for an indefinite amount of time. We don't know. And when somebody else come by, or if they'll even sell the property to somebody else. With that, I think an office building would be nice at that site. Better than definitely a vacant church in a school district, school building. Looking at the master plan, I did comb through that too. It definitely does specify that Michigan does need to be more diversified homes. We have a lot of single family, more duplexes and townhomes and other stuff. We need a more diverse homes. However, it also has, I was looking at one of the objectives, is commercial and office development, promote a well-planned, this is actually objective 2.2, promote a well-planned and integrated system of commercial and office uses which will serve the needs of the city residents, enhance the image of the city, and strengthen the city tax and employment base, which I think this specific case does exactly what objective 2.2 talks about. I did have another point on that. I don't remember at this time.
Contagious. Sorry.
So that's all I have at the moment.
Mayor?
Councilmember
I have
Dole.
something else. Some of the things that Councilmember King stated, if we were to deny this and the building remains sitting there as is, it's no longer a church, so there are taxes that will have to be paid, correct?
I'm not an assessor, so I don't know how that
Yes.
would work. I don't know
There
whether
are.
the-
It's no longer a church. It's bought by, so there's taxes that will have to be paid on the property, so we will not be out the taxes. If it remains vacant, we also have ordinances for that where we can charge them vacancy fees. We have our blight court now, which will clean up the property. And I do have a question, though. So if we had a church come into town right now, what is the zoning requirement for a church?
They would have to obtain special land use approval, because
Okay.
a church is not, a religious institution isn't permitted by right in the R1. They do have to
Ask again.
go through special land use process. And while this was previously established at a church, because it's been vacant for more than 6 months, it's lost that legal nonconforming status. So it'd have to be evaluated again, because, and the thought is that things like churches and schools belong in the middle of neighborhoods. Back in the day, they were the focal point in the community, focal point of that neighborhood.
Party
And so-
stores were in the middle of neighborhoods then, too, though. There's a lot of things that have changed since then.
Absolutely, and so that's why before, it used to be permitted by right, and now it requires special land use to factor in the things that you're concerned with right now in terms of parking, hours of operation, that sort of thing, or traffic, excuse me. So then those kind of things would be evaluated if it were proposed to be a religious institution of any kind.
Okay, so that still would have to come before council.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Councilmember Karafotis.
Well, we just talked about, it's obviously in the middle of a neighborhood. That's why I think it needs to stay a neighborhood. But another thing that Councilman King talked about, that the developer bought it and is going to turn into a daycare. That doesn't mean a developer that does housing wouldn't buy it. We have someone right now that lives in Garden City and buys vacant lots and puts brand-new houses on it. I think he's put like 10 houses in the last year and a half or 2 years. So, I mean, that availability is out there. We have our regular residents who buy these things and put up new houses. And if you drive down Henry Ruff or Shotka or Elmwood or Balmoral, there's 5 new houses right there in the last 2 years. So I think when there's vacant property in Garden City, there are developers waiting to buy.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
when was the property bought?
I'm afraid I don't know that.
April.
I believe it was in the
April.
past year.
April.
April, and it has been vacant for over 6 months, right? So
Yeah.
the developer had a few months to purchase it if it was up for sale and all of that. But speaking of the other developers in the city, we have a developer that owns a very fair chunk of land from the schools at the old Berger site that probably a decade now that hasn't been built. So there's the possibility for all of these homes to be built and all of these homes to be put in that just hasn't gotten to that point yet because he hasn't seen profitability in it.
That's
which
not
is
why
why he
he's
has.
doing that. He's waiting.
Hold on, Councilmember Witt's got it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But still, he is sitting on this and hasn't done it. He's got his contract with the schools, and that's what it's sitting at. But I do agree a lot with Councilmember King in these situations, and looking at, the amount of time that Planning Commission does sit and go over and deliberate on these things, that's why we have a Planning Commission in place. They go through all these deliberations, they work through putting all of this together to be sent to us. In the last 3 years, we've sent a lot of things away. Granted, we've pushed a lot through, but we've sent a lot of things back to the Planning Commission. And I don't think the whole point of us having a Planning Commission to deliberate more on this or, make a Facebook post that's, what do the rest of the residents think of this? I understand we do want all of the residents' input on it, but we notify the area that's affected. Of that affected area, one person showed up, but probably at least 15 properties, give or take, if not a little bit more. Okay, but still, only one person showed up and, opposed it and still had the conversation. And I don't think it's worth it for us to deliberate more on this and keep pushing stuff back to Planning Commission in certain situations.
Mr. Mayor, just to provide some additional information, just for background. In terms of the Burgess site that is owned by the school district, they actually have a deed restriction on it, that it can only be developed as single-family homes. We've had several people come in attempting to put in either townhomes or a little bit more housing on that site than previous. We've asked them, we told them, we can only do what's permitted by the deed. And so I believe that they have talked to the school district, and the school district has either not chosen or just didn't have the process in place to consider and removing that deed restriction. But but the developer had developed single-family homes in the past, and on that particular site, they chose not to, and that was a vacant site. And I know one other aspect that because we are going to be presenting the updated master plan for housing, one aspect that faces communities mature communities such as Garden City is the fact that the sites that might be available hopefully are vacant, completely greenfield. Some sites aren't, such as this would be, so demolition costs factor into it, especially if there's any extended cost for demolition, and then that factors into, it adds on top of the escalating cost of construction. And then with the amount of density that we do or don't allow, that could be a factor, because even though there's a 2-acre lot, we have our 60-foot minimum lot width and 7,200 minimum lot area. So, and forgive me, I don't have the width of the lot in front of me, but, and then because the only way they could develop additional single-family homes is if there was land deeper back, is to put in a road or something to that effect, because all lots have to be on a public street. So then the developer would be facing, whatever the lot width of that is divided by 60. So you might get 5-6 houses, possibly. Forgive me, it could be more than that. But just that's another factor that developers consider, because when we talk to them, we're always trying to, drum up all the sites, Burgess site and all the others.
Mayor?
Councilmember Karafotis.
I know that 60 is our normal, but we just gave a variance a few months ago and built those 4 houses on Elmwood, and they're 40-foot. So, I mean, we do give variances in order to get more housing in, and I don't know why we wouldn't do that some more. Like I said, our master plan recommends that we do more micro-housing to get higher density. And that school property, it definitely wants to be developed. It just has not been developed the way the school wants it, and that 10 years is coming. And I'm sure when that 10 years is up, you will see things built on there right away. And again, I just think that it's senseless to give away our residential property when we have so very few of it in Garden City. There's not that much left.
Mayor?
Councilmember Hughes.
I just want to point out that at the Planning Commission meetings, there were only 4 members, and only 3 voted in favor, 1 abstained. So when we talk about, having the commission do the work they were supposed to be doing, they were, I think, kind of shorthanded, and in the sense that, we didn't get an overwhelming yes to begin with. It was kind of, they want to put the restrictions on it, but we still only had 3 votes from the Planning Commission to move forward with this.
Okay.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
I got to agree with the Councilwoman Karafotis that we need to protect our residential zones for future use. Some of the problems now we have is across the country. These builders don't want to build because the cost is sky high right now. Perhaps in the future it's going to come down, and we'll have an opportunity to build multifamily homes on this land. I'm throughout the city quite a bit, probably more than anybody else sitting at this table. I haven't heard one good thing, one person that wants this to happen. We've heard from a business owner, not positive for there either. I just think we need to protect our residential zones. That's all I have.
Mayor?
I have a couple comments. And I've listened to everyone, and I agree and disagree with some of it. But we do have the Berger property that the school owns until 28, that the developer has to start a development. But he hasn't done it in 10 years. So obviously there's a cost restriction on that. Radcliffe, they had it sold to a developer that wanted the city to pay for everything, the demolition, everything, it'd be 20 years before we would have gotten our money back on it. So to me, there's not a great race to build subdivisions or houses or tear down existing houses. The property owner put it up for sale. and somebody bought it for a pretty good amount of money. They want to turn it into an office building, mostly, I would assume, and I don't think that's going to create a whole lot of traffic problem. When it comes back, if it comes back as a school, then that'll have to be a special land use. We can take that up. The Planning Commission, if we only say that 3 voted for it, then we got to go to every commission, and when not everybody's there, say, well, only a certain amount voted for it. So I don't think that's a fair assessment. They all take pride in what they do. They consider everything. I'm in favor of believing what they say and the work ethic that they put into it. I believe the taxes will be greater as a office building and as a potential childcare. But yes, taxes will be paid, but I believe there'll be more than a couple if there's a few houses built there. And again, we have empty properties that nobody's fighting to get at to build houses. So I think to put an office building right there, a couple blocks off of Inkster Road with the boulevard, I don't think that's going to increase traffic that much to affect the people. And if it gets to a child care, then we can discuss that because that's a special land use. So for me, with the properties that could have been sold and could have been built on, and nobody's willing to put up the money to do all that, and I know that church has been there a while. I'm sure they had church services for a while. Probably much more traffic than the daycare or the office building will put in there, and wasn't a big traffic concern then. So I'm just in favor of following what the Planning Commission recommended, and again, I think there's enough property elsewhere that we can look at building on.
Mayor,
Councilmember Karafotis.
I agree that we put things in front of the Planning Commission for a reason, but it also comes to our council for a reason, and our residents elected us to oversee those things. And it's here in front of us for a reason. We're not just supposed to automatically say yes to everything. We're also supposed to discuss it and come up with a good resolution. When it goes back to the school property, again, that owner absolutely wants to develop that property, but he wants to develop it into apartments or multiple, and the school says you can't for 10 years. It has to be single-family housing. They're waiting on that 10 years, and he's chomping at the bit in hopes that we will approve multi. It's not that he doesn't want to. He's waiting out a 10-year lease according to the school.
But it's not guaranteed the school will sell it back to them and change their mind. That's still school property. They can do whatever they want with it.
They can, and if you look at the rest of the vacant lots in Garden City, they're all being bought up by developers that are putting houses on it. So if there's 4 houses and they're $300,000 houses, that's $40,000 right off the bat. And I think earlier we said that was about the same in taxes if there was the daycare. So that church has gone from 0. I kind of doubt that it's going to go to 48,000. And that property actually sold for about 100,000 less than it did 20 years ago.
Further comments?
Mayor,
Councilmember King.
I remember what I was going to mention for the Garden City. We really don't have a business district. Business district, professional offices. Not most of it is retail. So I think that is a plus for the city to have a professional business. I'm not sure about the child care. However, I think that's kind of down the road. That's more of a special land use. When I mentioned about a developer coming in and developing the property for residential, right now, the current developer, as we all mentioned, just purchased that building and property in April. If it was a vacant property, I think it'd be much more doable to convert it over to residential, but it's not. There's already a functional building on the site. As you mentioned, it would be demolished as all added costs. I don't know if it would be profitable to switch it over to residential at this point. If he doesn't get the okay to use it for what he's intended or what he thought he was going to be able to use for the property, it may just stay vacant. There's nothing to force the developer to sell the property to another developer that's going to demolish it and put residential there. In that aspect, I think it's better to see a site utilized money put into it that will increase the taxes. Yes, they do pay probably some very limited property taxes, being a vacant building, but if property taxes are based on the value of the property and the value of the business. If they redevelop the property and they fill their office suites, however they're, with an engineering firm or whatever, that will add more property taxes to the tax rolls. With that, what I hear over and over from our residents, they want the burden of the taxes taken off the residents and more commercial. We, of course, will never have as much commercial as our neighboring cities, Westland, Dearborn. They just have much more space and much more developed commercial than we can have in Garden City. But yeah, what I've heard more and more is they want to see other entities paying into the taxes to help bring down the residential taxes.
Mayor,
Is it, okay, is there,
I just want to say that property taxes are not based off how well the business is doing. It has nothing to do with that. It's what the property is worth. So it doesn't matter if this business is making $300,000. We don't up their taxes for it if it's the same property. It has nothing, whether it's vacant property or not vacant property.
Mr. Mayor, just information for you all, a couple of things as far as the value of the property. Once again, I'm not the assessor, but I do believe that the value of the property is based on the value of the building. As a dilapidated and deteriorated building, the value of that would be less than if the developer spends money to raise the value of that structure, because then the assessor goes in and reassesses the value based on how many improvements. It's just like if you put in a new kitchen in your bathroom, in your home, your taxes are going to go up because the assessor says, oh, that's a very nice outfit. Bathroom you have in there. And then one other aspect for your information, just to be sure, I'd let you know, is that the zoning ordinance states, and it's that when an applicant comes for rezoning, if it's denied, then it cannot be considered for another rezoning for 1 year. So it could not be considered for C1 uses, unless it's like substantially different, meaning not office and not daycare. It would not be able to be developed for 1 year in any other district other than R1. So the R1 uses would be permitted, but someone would have to come in and propose a development on the site that is in compliance with the R1 designation. They'd have to wait a year.
Mario, isn't our CBD considered an office?
Well, definitely, yeah. I mean, we back in the, just to back up for a second, we used to have an O1 district, but it was kind of limited to limiting the commercial property owners to just office.
So we got rid of that, right?
So we got rid of that, exactly. We got rid of it, and so O1 is permitted in C1, C2, C3, and CBD.
So it's permitted
offices
everywhere.
are permitted, and rather than propose a C2 or C3 or CBD, the applicant wanted to do a C1 because of the local characteristics of the business. But then when the Planning Commission voiced their concern that even the C1 was going to open up the door a little too much. That's why he chose to voluntarily close the door and only do office by right, and then daycare, childcare center by special land use.
Office by right if we approve it.
Correct. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely. If the rezoning gets approved, then it could be developed as an office.
But offices are allowed all over the whole city in every zone, right? Except for residential.
Correct, yeah.
okay.
I have a question.
Councilmember Dole.
Is there any precedent for this? Is there anywhere else in Garden City where we've put commercial so far into a residential area that you can think of?
Trying to think, the residential building pattern based on the plat never really encroached that much into there. And that's one of the reasons why we've had some extended vacancies, because in the past, before my time in like the 90s, there were efforts to try and increase the depth of the lots, but even that was restricted. Sometimes we've got a couple parking lots behind the buildings that went into like 1 or 2 lots into the residential subs, but it never got that much more. The daycare, that doesn't even go in. You got the hospital.
The new Hollywood Sound.
Yeah, Hollywood Sound.
Back about a block and a half.
On the west side of the city, those lots, but that's based on the plat. They were deeper there, so
I
that's
was
why
going
we've
to say
seen
that
those
was
are
originally
higher.
the property outline there.
I'm sorry, when I say plat, I mean back in the day when they first came, they chose to have very small lots along Ford, except for downtown and except for adjacent to downtown, where those are deeper. So the amount of opportunities to even do that was very limited, because in order to get into that far deeper, you'd have to assemble land. I guess the only other aspect that might be similar to that is up here on Middlebeth, further going towards Maplewood, some of those go a little bit deeper, but not by much.
But those lots
Platted
were
that
deep
way.
to begin
Right,
with.
yeah, exactly,
It wasn't that we changed them into commercial.
Right, and that's why there are those extended vacancies on some of those properties, because the buildings are developed with 1950s, 60s style retail and that sort of thing. So luckily, we're seeing an influx of development for those small uses, but we haven't seen any large-scale uses want to assemble the land. They go somewhere else.
Is it also safe to assume that the purchaser was fully aware of what that property was zoned when he purchased it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, everybody, they know what they're getting into, so.
Okay, is there anything new from council?
Just one thing.
Go ahead, Councilmember Hughes.
I debated on this. It wasn't, I wasn't thinking one way or the other. I was kind of torn, for the reasons that the mayor gave and Councilmember Witt and King. But I keep coming back to the original thought process of a C1, especially this far into, a subdivision residence. And hearing from all the residents in the area, close by, down the street, they're really not in favor of it. And I represent the residents. So that's where, I kind of fall along. And then also, I come back to the C1, and I don't see any benefit to the residents in the nearby immediate area, as it's specified in the C1. So I don't see any compelling reason other than, trying to develop a piece of property right now because we have somebody who's here. And that's the only reason that I see. There's no other compelling reason for me to think that this is in the best interest of what the residents don't want.
Okay, thank you. The last thing I'll say is just that somebody has stepped up and bought this property to develop it. There's no guarantees that it'll be sold if we turn this down. It could sit vacant for a while, like some other properties that we have. I think it's better to put a building there, or a building is already there, put a business in there that is not going to be that invasive on the residents around there. So that's my thought process. I'll open it up, public comment. Anybody wishing to speak on this? No public comment? All right, Mr. Smith?
Just a point of order before voting, just remember the rezoning is a zoning ordinance, zoning map ordinance, so it requires 5 affirmative votes.
Okay, we'll do a roll call.
Actually, the applicant would like to say a word, if that's acceptable.
Yes, it's public comment. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Nasser from NC Designers. So I see positive and negative things about this property to approve or not approve. So I look at it, and as an architect, I look at the whole thing, and I'm putting my office there. We're an architectural firm that have, of course, by appointment. We don't have people coming from the road or from the street, budging in and sitting with us and talking to us. So everything is by appointment. So all this parking that we have, probably we're not going to use a third of it while we are in the process of doing our business. On our both, what I see, they're feeding the C1 as a retail office, bringing it into the residential. I deal with this every day in every city council for my customers. Now I'm doing it for myself. I'm surrounded on this building by C1, a couple C1s. Let's assume someone buys one of these C1s. He doesn't have to come here. He'll just put a retail store, office, whatever he wants, and he gets everybody there. What makes that better than putting this building as an office building? And it's not going to be very aggressive because Inkster is nearby the property, then going into that residential road to the other side. So I see that voting into an office, it's your choice, but still I see the neighboring that they are already C1. So why not them coming and putting something there? Now you went to the first item that you argued about, that, hey, we don't want C1. And you have C1 touching my property. So that's, I just want to point this out this way. I mean, maybe there is like a little bit of a wiggle that looking at it from the other side. I know that you want residential. That's an open thing, and I see, and I work in the city of Garden City, and I also built for people in Garden of City, the city, in the city, and there is a
15 seconds.
Okay. I just want to close this, that I hope you guys vote yes for this kind of business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further comments from the public? Ask again. Okay, Mr. Smith, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Dole,
Nay.
Councilmember King,
Aye.
Councilmember Karafotis,
Nay.
Councilmember Dole,
Nay.
Councilmember Witt,
Aye.
Councilmember Hughes,
Nay.
Mayor Jacobs.
Aye. Motion fails. Okay, item 2 is client service agreement for the Medi-Account management. I will ask Fire Chief Keene to come up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. What you have before you tonight is the client service agreement with Medi-Account Management. We've been using them since 2017 as our EMS billing company. Medi-Account regularly visits. They keep us in the loop with trainings, up to date on the requirements for billing, what's required by the insurance companies, by Medicare, Medicaid, to make sure that we can collect what we actually bill. So what you have before you tonight is a 4-year renewal with a nominal increase. It's 0.1% over what they previously collected over the previous 4 years. And included in that as well is they do cover the cost of our EMS documentation program. So that's included in that as well. And as you can see, it equates to approximately less than $900 a year is the increase.
Thank you. Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
I move to approve the client services agreement with Medi-Account Management Service with the fee increase of 10% guaranteed for 4 years, 2026 to 2030.
Support.
Or from Councilmember King. Discussion from table.
Mayor?
Councilmember Karafotis.
It's 0.1%.
Not 10%.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
You missed the decimal.
Okay, further
They'd be
comments from
happy for
table?
10% increase.
Yeah, it's much different.
Yeah.
In our favor.
No further comments from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you,
Thank you.
Chief. Okay, item 3 is on-street sales for the Garden City Goodfellows.
Mayor,
Councilmember Dole.
were you going to do it?
I can do it.
Go ahead.
So, good evening, Mayor and Council. I received a request from the Garden City Goodfellows to host a on-street newspaper sale. We had approved one previously this year, but situations didn't work out where they were able to have it, so they have come back with new dates and are requesting to hold the on-street sales Saturday, August 15th and Sunday, August 16th from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. at Ford and Middlebelt, Ford and Merriman, Middlebelt and Warren, and Ford and Vinoy. And I have also been told that they are looking for volunteers if anyone is interested in coming on out and helping.
Make the motion first, then you can recruit volunteers. Okay, motion is in order.
Mayor. Yep.
Councilmember Hughes.
I'd like to make a motion to grant approval of the Garden City Goodfellows to hold their 2026 Goodfellow newspaper fundraiser on Saturday, August 15th, and Sunday, August 16th, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the intersections of Ford and Middlebelt, Ford and Merriman, Ford and Vinoy, and Middlebelt and Warren, subject to the receipt of a valid hold harmless agreement by each participant and compliance with the provisions of city on-street sales policy.
Support.
Support from Mayor Pro Tem Dole. Discussion from the table. From the public. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0, and as Mr. Smith said, I believe they're looking for volunteers. Item 4 is our 2026 lead service line replacement program, engineering and construction services. And I will ask Mr. Tim Wilson from Hennessy Engineering to come up and kind of explain what we got here.
Yeah, so this is the proposal for our construction engineering fees for the lead service line project. Just as a reminder, this is the one that just got awarded to All Seasons Underground. There's a $1,090,000 project amount. Half of that will be the L&I grant and half the DWSRF loan. So these fees are already included in that whole project budget. This is not an additional amount that we are asking.
More paperwork for the, to get the grant.
Yes, so
right?
these fees in front of you will be covered by that loan and grant.
Okay.
So this is not like an additional amount that we're throwing on. This is part of that original project that's in the final stages of getting approved.
I think we needed this to turn in the paperwork for all that, right?
Yes, so that we are on track with it. They had the numbers down, and then we realized we did not have the resolution from council.
Mayor.
Councilmember Dole.
I motion to approve the contract for professional engineering and construction services for Eagle Project number 7894-02 for 2026 lead water service replacements with Hennessy Engineers Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $200,000.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Witt. Discussion from the table. From the public. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, under other business, discussion on blight reduction ordinance amendments. Mr. Gibbons.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At the request of Councilmember Karafotis, we are kind of requesting some input from council to review and examine our ordinances as they relate to blight, as they relate to commercial buildings that are vacant, and anything really related to the maintenance of properties while they are unoccupied and boarding up of windows and those standards. What I would like the outcome to be is essentially council gives us some input as to the direction they'd like to go. I would then pose a question to our city attorney to examine our ordinances to see, one, do these ordinances exist in a manner that's consistent with what you'd like? And two, what's the most effective way to enforce them? Because you really have two parts. There's an ordinance that says what it says, but then how you carry it out has an impact on how that policy takes place. So just some input, and I just start with Councilmember Karafotis, who asked for the agenda item.
Yeah, I just asked for it because we have so many residents that are asking to do something about the blight, do something about boarded up windows, do something about vacant buildings. So just hoping our city manager can maybe give us a list of some of the ordinances that are for vacant buildings or recently vacated buildings, and just, we can review those and maybe update them, see what other cities are doing, see if we need to adjust things to how it's working in our city. There's so many vacant properties right now. Everybody knows the Kmart property, where everyone's complaining about weeds there, but are they too long? Are we, there's just so much that we could do in our city, and our residents are not holding back anymore. They're very, very concerned with blight. So I'm hoping that our city manager can check with our attorney and we can update some things so that we can get more on board with our blight court, since we want to use it as much as we can. So I just wanted to hear everybody else's opinion if you have some ideas about updating our ordinances.
I'm fine with getting a legal opinion from our attorneys as to what he's seen from other communities and what our legal remedies could be for it. So I'm fine with recommending to go to our attorney and get some information from him.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Carrifold.
isn't our new attorney very familiar with blight court and all these things?
They're familiar with multiple communities throughout Southeast Michigan and all the different manners in which blight is enforced. From my own review, we have a significant amount of ordinances on the books, and really the battle comes from, it almost plays itself out in our discussion about rezoning. There's a certain balance you take when you are requesting development, you request commercial investment in your properties, you realize those things take time. And sometimes work is happening on a property that you can't see. When designs are happening, when petitions for rezoning are happening, when planned developments are happening. Mostly what comes to my mind right now is the balance between promoting that economic development, but yet the maintenance of the appearance of the community during that time. And we know and we've seen, I think the business that's going in next to KFC at Ford and Harrison, the amount of time that lot is sat at waiting, but now is moving actually quite rapidly. What standards can we apply that both balances good economic development but accountability for the conditions of the property at the time we're seeing it on a daily basis. So, in addition to, our first blight court will be this month for Administrative Hearing Bureau. It's also not a bad time to hear from council some of that input. I do think it's important, though, from the city manager's advice is that we balance those things. And we realize that when blight comes up, the process for the city to do it is, one, required by law. People have commercial property rights, residential property rights, and they're entitled to a certain amount of process, which doesn't always look pretty. It takes time to give someone their full rights to adjudicate some of these blight issues in court. It keeps your property, the property next to you that you're not happy about, or the one you drive by you're not happy about, in a condition that, if we had a magic wand, we of course would have fixed it. And so it's a matter of really balance, and I just wanted to get input from council as to if they would like that performed by our new city attorney, and if they could comb through and see if there's any really, as the mayor stated, advice from other communities where they're successful on any particular items, particularly in the area of commercial development and the blight and some of our construction sites. We all love construction when it's done. But getting from point A to point B can be varied. Sometimes are heavily invested in commercial property gets built real quick and we're super satisfied, and sometimes it takes a while and things go wrong, funding falls out, and how do we balance those two very different but all to the same end situations. I look only to Ford and Merriman, where we had the old Bar 153. It's now being finally developed, but it's set for a long time. How do we move those along? What mechanisms are best? Is it blight court? Is it dangerous buildings ordinance? Is it zoning board of appeals? I mean, what are these? What are the mechanisms that work best and are the fastest and most effective?
I think our residents are looking for that balance between, yes, we're helping them develop, but in the meantime, we still want it to look decent. That's the balance we're looking for.
Councilmember King.
I kind of look at it, there's two blight issues. There's commercial that's operating active businesses that need to take care of their property. And then there's what we talked about more recently, the development properties. I do think there's a balance there. You want to promote developers coming into the city and building new businesses, and so there's a little give and take there. But I do think they need to show progress, maybe every 3 months, every 6, whatever it is, whatever's legally and what other municipalities are doing. But checking in with the city and letting us know where they're at. You can't go 6, 9 months, a year with nothing to show for what you're doing for their property. That's my fault for development.
I agree with that, Dom.
Councilmember Hughes.
I was wondering if we could make a differentiation between a vacant property versus one that already has, approval from Planning Commission for, progress on actually building and developing the property. So I see those as two different things. If you have somebody who owns a property and it's just sitting vacant year after year after year, versus somebody, like you say, trying to get that balance on somebody who actually has plans in place, they are moving forward and they're stepping forward. And is it possible for us to have two different approaches to blight on, with that differentiation?
Yeah, that's absolutely the type of question I'd like to pose and find out, and I can bring back.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. City Manager's report.
Nothing much tonight, Your Honor. I don't have anything.
Okay, Mr. Smith.
Yep, just remind everybody, come on out and vote. Election Day is next Tuesday. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. next Tuesday on Election Day. But we also have early voting currently running now every day through this Sunday. It is at the Police Department from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. You vote just like you do on Election Day. You come on in, you get a ballot, and you put it in the tabulator while you're here.
Point of order. Do we want to go back to public comment, number 13?
Oh, okay. Missed that one. Okay, sorry about that. All right. Item 13, public comment for non-agenda items only. Nothing, Mr. Jones? Chief Arnosky. Sort of public.
Yeah, from the police chief's desk, I guess you could say. I just wanted to inform council that tonight the police department participated in the Rib Fest over in Westland at the Texas Roadhouse. They had a rib eating contest. We sent our patrol commander, Lieutenant Billy Smith, and one of our new hires, patrol officer Gavin Geppert, and they took first place.
All right.
Out of all the teams there, we won. We got a nice little trophy. They didn't give it to me, but we have it.
Oh, we could have put it, all right, we'll get it next, put it on the table.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Billy, all Billy.
Anyone else with public comment?
Chief, next time let us know so we can go and cheer everybody on.
We might have missed the meeting then.
Well, tonight, yeah, but it might not be on a Monday night next time.
Okay, all right. Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have nothing tonight.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hughes. Councilmember Hughes.
Thank you. I wanted to point out that the Garden City Fire Department, the roofing and siding are completed, yes. And HVAC is installed, and drywall's installed, painted, and primed and painted. Yay. I understand there's just a little bit more to go, right? Just a little bit. And then also I want to point out Parks and Rec, in the month of June alone, they saw 2,194 participants. So I know a lot of people were worried about, how that was going to come along and, is it really going to be worth it? And apparently, it seems like it has been worth it, and they are generating a fair amount of income. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Witt.
Nothing tonight.
Councilmember King.
I do have, there's pending storms coming through tonight through the state of Michigan. Haven't checked the radar recently, but it's over like 50-mile winds, I believe. It made me think about I think the city, we should have basically a standard storm response. A lot of times we hear from residents on Facebook, a storm comes through, does DPS help with the branches, do they not? I think it's similar to snow removal. All residents know if it's 4 inches, the trucks will be out. Anything less, they're not going out. I think for branch pickup, maybe something similar. I'm just throwing out numbers, not saying this needs to be the numbers, but over 50-mile winds, over 60-mile winds, whatever we pick, DPS will support. Otherwise, I know we do play the trash company to pick up debris and that kind of stuff. So wouldn't want to go out there for every little storm. Outages, if we're over half the city with outages, maybe that's when we open up the centers. I know the police station is always available, but maybe there's other places we may open. And these are just ideas. Something on the last storm I noticed, I think critical streetlights, the Middle Belt and Ford Road was out for 3 days. Now luckily, it was 4th of July weekend, not a lot of traffic. However, I think the light's not going to be restored within 24 hours. We really need to reach out to Wayne County, get a generator on critical lights. That's a very busy intersection, and we really, I think, should have had a generator out there powering that light.
I was going to say,
that
there
traffic
was
light.
3 accidents at Ford and Middle Belt in the first 12 hours of that power outage.
Oh, well, okay, so I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if there was or not, but, so I think something we should look into, standardizing storm response, so all the residents have an expectation of when we engage and when we do not. And that's all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Dole.
So the reports we have in front of us are for the month of June, but I just wanted to say with our storms this month already and the response that we got from the fire department, from the police department, DPW, from everybody, everything was outstanding. And I imagine you guys were really busy. But other than that, I know that what Councilmember King was discussing with the emergency response plan, I know that that's been asked for by a certain council member for about 4 years now. And it is really something that we do need. It's I think it's critical. And even with our heat waves and stuff like that for so long, you know, people didn't know what to do, where to go, that kind of thing. So I did notice the last time that was getting communicated a little bit better. But yeah, other than that, like was said, the Goodfellows is looking for volunteers to help us with our paper fundraiser. This is what we've really had to put our noses to the grindstone this year because our paper sales were so absolutely horrendous last year, and that has historically been what's enabled the Goodfellows to provide Christmas for our local needy children. So if you can help, let one of us know. If you see us out there, donate. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Karafotis.
I was so glad to hear another council member talk about our emergency plan. And I was even more happy today to talk with our city manager, who spent a lot of time with our fire chief to get that going. So it's coming soon, and it was the exact things that...
Well, just to add to that, I was specifically talking about storm response. However, I think there's another one we need for emergency plan for catastrophic events in the city.
But no, the storm is part of it. So if it's snowy and freezing and the power goes out, if there's branches that can go to the curb and our residents need to know, you can do this. That's exactly the kind of stuff that I was talking about all this time.
Yeah,
and I was glad to hear that it's coming. Thank you for that,
Go ahead, Councilmember
Chief Keen and
Karafotis.
our city manager. And that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. I will say on the last storm over the 4th, DPW, I know part of their response is to go pick up some branches when they have time. And they were swamped. There were trees that were down across roads that they had to go clear up. Wayne County is not always the most responsive to get them out there. And I agree we need actual emergency plan, but usually we can make a phone call to get out there and they'll hook up a generator at Middle Belt, Ford, Merriman and Ford goes out. As far as places to go, I know Radcliffe lost power, so that was, it would have been hard to communicate that quickly before people went out there. But that's what I was told, so, you know, but we should have a plan in place. I agree with that, and we do have sort of a plan. So I'm sure we're going to work on that.
If I could just clarify, we have always have plans within each part of our organization. What's being requested from council tonight is a little more of a formalized, more publicly noticed plan. But, you know, worked at the police department for 23 years. I was here for the blackout right when I first started. So I'm very familiar, and the city has and always has done an excellent job of responding. You can always get better. And so myself and the fire chief have spent a significant amount of time over the past week or so. And we're adding some final pieces, but it all include what we already offer offer. But to standardize it, and we do live in an age of information, that I think it's only beneficial that the community has a little more input, or a little more insight. But I don't want anyone to think we've gone this long without one. Of course, we have access to resources. We send our public safety professionals to the places to know the things, and are part of groups that can bring a tremendous amount of resources in to our town at a moment's notice. And, we have Wayne County Emergency Management. So there's a lot of pieces. They're all individually. We're just going to formalize one into more of a centralized place.
I also want to mention, what I had said was nothing to criticize our departments now. I think they respond great. I just want to standardize it, like you said, so the residents know when to expect that kind of service and when not to, kind of thing. So.
Okay. I'd also like to offer my condolences, like I said earlier, to the family of Dennis Kaplinsky. He was probably the longest-serving Parks and Rec commissioner that we've had, and he passed away a little time ago, a week or two ago, suddenly. So sorry to hear that, and we'll have his wisdom and experience will be missed. Speaking of schools and stuff like that, the Imagination Station at Radcliffe is hosting a Pack Your Backpack Bash. And I thought they were going to put up a flyer. Not sure if they will, but it is Saturday, August 15th, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Radcliffe. They'll have some backpacks and school supplies. They'll have raffle baskets, free kids, haircuts on site, and miscellaneous other things. So no income requirement if children need some backpacks and school supplies. Saturday, August 15th, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. is a good time to go see what they have. I'm one of the few, probably older people that still get a newspaper, and I was reading in the Free Press the other day, they had their Community Choice Awards, and there were quite a few from Garden City in there. For finalists, they had Plymouth Therapy under the rehab. Roofing, they had Kroll Construction. Not really Garden City, but we consider it. Barson's was a finalist for Garden Center and a florist. And then winners for the Community Choice Awards, there was House of Dank for CBD, and Garden City, Gordon Chevrolet had 4 of them. They won for auto repair, new car dealership, used car dealership, and oil change service. They all won that award. And also, I'm not sure, second or third time, Villa Bakery won for bakery. So congratulations to all them. All Garden City businesses are really close. So again, congratulations. And that's all I have for that. Now, closed session, I'll take a motion to go into closed session.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I'd like to make a motion to move into closed session at 8:17 PM for a written legal opinion to receive an attorney-client privilege, written legal opinion to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute pursuant to MCL 15.268H regarding city waste disposal contract, and B, a written legal opinion to receive an attorney-client privilege, written legal opinion to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute pursuant to MCL 15.268H regarding city participation in PFAS class action lawsuit.
Support.
Support for Mayor Pro Tem Dold. Mr. Smith, if you'll take roll, please.
Councilmember Witt.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dold.
Aye.
Councilmember Karafotis.
Aye.
Councilmember Dold. Aye. Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Hughes.
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs.
Aye. Okay, at this time, we will go into closed session. Okay, at this time, I'll take a motion for coming back into session.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I would like to make a motion to return to open session at 9:21 PM.
Support.
Or from Councilmember Karafotis. Mr. Smith, take roll call, please.
Councilmember Witt?
Aye.
Councilmember Karafotis?
Aye.
Councilmember Dole?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember Hughes?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dole?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye. Okay, we're back in session. I will now take a motion for our closed session.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I'd like to make a motion to concur with findings of city attorney written legal opinion regarding city waste disposal contract and authorize city manager to proceed in a manner consistent with recommendation.
Support.
Or from Councilmember Karafotis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Now motion for item B.
Mayor?
Councilmember Hughes.
I'd like to make a motion to support the continued participation in the PFAS class action lawsuit represented by Kirk, Huth, Lang, and Badalamenti, PLC, at the direction of the city attorney.
Support.
Or from Mayor Pro Tem Dole. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, no further business before this council. It is adjourned.